me. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
Louder. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
All right. So you ready?
I'm good. Thanks.
Hey. Well, hello. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I am super excited because I have a special guest. She's an actor, author, and sober. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joyce. Joyce, tell the world about yourself.
Hey, good to be here, Julio. I appreciate that. Just for today, I am living my best life. Last Saturday, I turned 75 years old. We had the celebration. It was fantastic. I was able to be on stage performing 2 shows, which if you've never done 2 performances in one day, I don't know how many podcasts you record in a given day, but it was a lot. And I had people who flew in from across the country to come and be with me, see the show, come to birthday dinners. It was pretty glorious.
I love it. Well, then I do want to start off by saying you look great for 70. That's really good. You're doing great.
75.
Wow. I mean, God bless you or bless you, depending on what you believe in, but bless you because you look amazing. You act amazing, right? Because your energy is on 100. And I don't know.
Interesting you should say that word because that's been a word people have used a lot. So I use the name Joyce, like the Energizer Bunny, in a lot of my self-promotion. So
yeah, Energize. I love it. We'll use it. So let's talk a little bit about your acting. You said you just did some shows. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing there.
Well, this acting job at this very moment, which I have to be on stage in about 4 hours, we are doing a play called Bill W. and Dr. Bob. It is in North Hollywood, and it's a show about the 2 founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. I play Dr. Bob's wife, Ann Smith, and she and Lois Wilson were the founders of the program of Al-Anon, which, if your listeners aren't aware, that's a program for friends and families of alcoholics. It's a very popular show. We had 10 performances already sold out before we opened. So to date, we've performed 6 sold out shows, and the audience has been so gracious and warm and receptive. A lot of them, this same show was staged 2 years ago in the same theater, and it's a theater called Theater 68, which is the year I graduated high school, I might add.
Meant to be.
Yes. And thankfully, the director invited me back to play the same role. So it is the performance of a lifetime for me because I got sober when I was 40 years old. And so now here I am doing the 2 things that are most endearing to my heart, which are acting, performing, and recovery. It's kind of a merging of those 2 things. So I'm in bliss.
That is amazing. You're blessed in bliss. That's right. Listen, that is amazing. So at 40, all of it is amazing, but congratulations on the sobriety.
Thank you.
I understand how hard that is. I did have an issue. It was more with substances, but yes, it's a different life once you get out of there, right?
That's the truth. Yeah.
So I think it's very purposeful that the play that you're in now, the part that you're playing has to do with that sobriety, with challenging. How did that come about? Is that something you were looking for? You were looking for a part that way, or it just?
Well, as an actor, you go for whatever comes your way. And typically I get most of my auditions through a manager or an agent. In this case, the director reached out directly to me for this casting. He knew me because I used to be in a theater company with him. And he's an incredible performer who actually has a solo show that's touring the country right now. It's a show called I Am Not a Comedian. I Am Lenny Bruce. His show was directed by Joe Mantegna, who is well known for Criminal Minds, etc. In fact, Joe came to the show last week on my actual birthday.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Did you get nervous?
And a very cool thing that happened is I told the director, Ronnie, that I wanted to give the audience a gift after the show. And so he did announce at the end of the show, after our curtain call, he announced to everyone that it was my birthday and that I wanted to give them a gift. So I gave everyone a copy of my memoir, which came out less than a year ago. It's called Evolution of a Baby Boomer, Life Beyond Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll.
Wait, we're talking about that. Wait, what?
Yes, indeed.
Sorry,
Evolution of a Baby Boomer.
I was watching your website. I saw a video that there was a video. You were in a video for a music video, I think it
Yes,
was, right?
for a song I wrote back in the day.
Look at you. So let's talk about this. What is this book about? What is someone going to get out of it?
Okay, so the book is my sober journey, basically, but it tells all the craziness that I was engaged in up until the moment that I got sober, and then it talks a bit about my journey. It's not a heavy-duty read. It's an easy read. Some people have said they've read it in 2 hours. It's available as a paperback or an ebook, a Kindle, or it's also an audiobook. So in the book, I basically talk about my journey, and at different intervals in the book, I say, this happened. I wrote a song about it. Here are some of the lyrics. In the audiobook, I say, this happened. I wrote a song about it, and a recording of my band playing that song comes in, and people get to hear a clip from these about 5 different songs.
That's so cool. That is
so cool.
That's
so
a good idea.
Yes. And in our band, in that music video that you watched, there's a guy in the background playing a gold guitar. He is Meryl Streep's brother-in-law. And so she actually came to one of our shows when we were in, and this was all happening in Indianapolis, by the way. My first husband and I were college sweethearts. I married the first guy I ever slept with, which is an unusual thing.
Very unusual.
Right. And about 10 years into the marriage, and he and I owned a record store. We sold vinyl, we sold cassettes, we sold 8-tracks from 1973 to 1983. And it was also a head shop. So we sold bongs, we sold roach clips, we sold,
Yes,
all that good stuff. And, part of my story is I was a daily stoner. I just loved smoking weed. So I smoked it for 20 years. And from 20 to 40, I was a daily pot smoker and a drunk. What can I say? About 10 years into that marriage, I made a really twisted decision that I wanted to start dating. And so I talked my husband into an open marriage, which today everyone calls polyamory. We were ahead of the time.
Yeah, back then it wasn't. Yeah.
It wasn't happening with any regularity. But I quickly met and, fell head over heels for a younger guy. Couldn't quite get enough of him. So I moved him into our house for the last 6 years of the marriage. And so it was nutty. I mean, Indianapolis, if you don't know anything about Indiana, it's a pretty conservative place. No one else was really doing this lifestyle. I was just making all this up all by myself. And
meet the creator.
Yeah, right. And, with zero regard for my children. My children were, I have 2 young daughters, and they, the youngest one kind of went with the flow. The oldest one really was very troubled by all of this. It was humiliating to her. It was awkward and weird, because I was totally open about it. I put on the emergency cards that you have for school. You
Right.
know, kids can be picked up by mother, father, mother's boyfriend, father's girlfriend. You know, I was putting all this down in black and white, and my kids would invite friends over for an overnight, and I would call the parents ahead of time and say, just so you know, this is the situation, and it
I think
was,
that was very respectful of you.
well, it was outrageous. Let's face
It
it.
was, but I
I'm
mean,
asking people to
compared
accept
to them,
something that,
but compared to them finding out afterwards that,
right.
that was the right way. Okay. Wow, what an exciting life kind of you have lived. That is a lot.
Exactly. Oh, and it continues, today I'm married to a guy that, I married 25 years ago, personal best. He is, also in recovery, and he and I just took a trip to Australia and Tasmania over Christmas and New Year's. We called it the 100 Years of Life and Love trip because
Woo! I
it was
love it.
on the cusp of my 75th birthday and our 25th wedding anniversary. So, yeah. And my youngest daughter lives in Australia. So she's lived there 10 years with her family. And so we were visiting them, traveling with them. And then the eldest daughter lives here. And in fact, she and I are having lunch tomorrow. And so that's part of the journey too. My impetus for getting sober was when I was moving to LA at age 40 to pursue acting. My children said, yeah, we're not going. And I was like, what?
What are you talking about? Where am I talking to go?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. They were going to stay in Goober, Indiana instead of groovy LA. Come on. But
yeah, well, I have a question, and this is because you're an artist, right? Acting, you're a writer now. You're an artist. When you were not sober, were you practicing these art forms at
yes,
that time? Oh, you were.
yes. I was doing in Indianapolis. I did commercials. I did theater. I once had a commercial that ran during every IU and Purdue basketball game for the whole season. Now, I don't know if you know anything about Indiana and basketball, but they're kind of
It's huge. That I know. Yeah, that's
yeah.
yeah.
And I actually had people calling me from all over the state, people I'd gone to college with, or my dad was originally from Indiana. So, relatives, my dad was from 7 kids. I had a bunch of cousins, and people were calling me going, I am so sick of seeing your face on that stupid. You know how we get.
Stop it.
Yes.
Me.
And people stopping me at the bank going, are you, it was my first time experiencing what it must be like for somebody to be a recognizable face, do you know? And my band performed a lot of gigs in Indianapolis. We opened for the Go-Go's. We opened for Meatloaf.
Meatloaf. I love Meatloaf. I used to love Meatloaf.
I got to kiss him.
What?
Yes. We were the warm-up act, obviously. And so we came off stage and they said, Meatloaf wants to say hello. So I went on to his tour bus and he gave me a hug and a kiss. So
Y'all warmed each other up. That's amazing. So, okay. And were you, one question I was interviewing someone else, also recovery and also an actor. And a question that came to me, and it's something I used to think about. And that's why I asked you, were you practicing your art form before that? When you decided to stop, when you decided I'm going to get sober, were you worried about losing some of the artistry because of that? Because that was something I used to worry about.
yes, it's funny you
Right?
should ask that. That's a great question because as soon as I got out here, I was living outside of LA, about an hour. I had a college friend who had a condo. She had a spare bedroom. So I was living in Ontario, California. And I had researched who was the best acting teacher in LA. And at the time, it was this guy named Jeff Corey. Jack Nicholson and all these big stars had worked with him. And so he was in Malibu. Now, from Ontario to Malibu is like 75 miles
Oof.
in traffic. And that's what I was doing. I was driving 75 miles each way. And at one point I thought I was kind of doing crappy work. And I was like crying as I drove the 75 miles back home. And I was like, oh, I can't act. I'm not high. I just can't do it. And I called him and I was in tears. And he was like, maybe, or maybe you just suck. Those weren't his words, but it was that was the essence of what he said. He was like, you have an amazing voice. What you've done with your speaking voice is fantastic. And I've seen you do some really wonderful work, but sometimes your work is not good. And so it was like really humbling to have that guy not allow me to blame drinking and using for having crappy work. It was just kind of like, maybe you just need to work harder.
Yes, I like it.
Frankly, that's probably the best thing he could have said to me. You know, it didn't let me off the hook at all. And to this day, you know, I've just been in classes all the time. I'm always studying with somebody and looking for that next level to bring my performing to where I want it to be.
So do you has it gotten better? I mean, I like you. I was watching your stuff, but do you feel it has gotten better since you've been sober?
Well, for sure, everything in my life has gotten better sober, even though it's been tough getting here. Today, it's this is March 1st, April, May, June, July, August. So I'm 5 months away from my 35th AA birthday. And, everything is better for sure.
I am so proud of you.
Well,
that is amazing.
Well, here's the thing. I have to, and it's an anonymous program. I don't want to, anything I say is just my opinion and it's my experience. And the bottom line is that guy that moved in with us for those 6 years, no shock to anybody, but he was a drunk. And I ended up in Al-Anon, which is a program for friends and family of alcoholics, behind his drinking, because I was in that spiral of kick him out, drag him back, kick him out, drag him back. And eventually my sister handed me a book and said, we're all sick of your stuff and, read this book. And it was this goofy book that at the end of every chapter, it's actually a well-written book, but and in fact, it's called Women Who Love Too Much. And it talked about all these dysfunctional relationships and all these crazy couples. And at the end of each chapter, it felt like it said, and then she went to Al-Anon. And I didn't know how to pronounce it. I'd never heard of it. But I sought it out, and it was for friends and family of alcoholics. And I felt like when I went into those meetings, everyone understood what it's like to sit around waiting for that drunk to get home. And sometimes he makes it home and sometimes he doesn't. And sometimes he gets home and his car's wrecked and any number of dramatic, horrible things. So I was there 2 years before I actually realized, then there's my little potty poo problem. I hadn't quite been looking at myself and looking for my own evidence of addiction. I had no idea. My parents were not alcoholics. My mother died at age 81, never having tasted alcohol.
Oh, wow.
She grew up as a Mormon. They didn't drink, so she didn't drink. My dad drank and he was in the military. My mother was from Hawaii. My dad met her during World War II. And
you've been all over the place.
Yes. No, and I lived in Japan when I was a kid. I
love that, Japan.
Germany for 3 years when I was in junior high, 5th grade through 8th grade. And I'm still in contact. Thank God for social media, as horrible as it is in so many ways and as scary as it is in so many ways. last month, my childhood friend from Germany lost her husband, and I was able to reach out to her and, offer her sympathy.
It could be powerful. You can use it as a great tool. It's just, I think that it has its place in our society.
For sure.
Matter what. Everything has something back. Now,
Yep.
What you were telling me, what was it that made you say enough?
Well,
That was the
before I moved to California, I wanted to be as mentally, physically, and spiritually healthy as possible. And so I went to a therapist, and I was going to a lot of Al-Anon meetings, and they told me I should go visit Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I would go to these AA meetings. I didn't relate because, like I said, I had
you didn't think you were.
denial
Yeah.
about who I was. But that therapist did a very sly thing. She said, write the relationship with you and your boyfriend, write it out. And so I did. And then I went back to therapy the next week, and she said, okay, read it to me. And I was like, what?
You didn't say that's what we were doing.
I had no idea she was going to have me read this aloud. I thought it was just for me to reflect, Anyway, reading it out loud was just horrific in many ways. And, oops.
What's wrong?
Wait, oops. Suddenly I lost you. There you are. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you were still here. I still, but yeah.
The video, went away for a sec. Anyway, so she asked me to read it aloud, and so I did. And she said, do you see how much of your own drinking and using is in this, monologue here? And I said, not really. I hadn't noticed it. And she had said on the very first day of therapy, the point of therapy is to get to the truth. If you keep drinking and using, we will never get to what's true. So the challenge to you is you cannot drink, you cannot use between sessions. And I need you to make that commitment or I won't work with you. And I was like, okay, well, I couldn't do it. I didn't know.
But when she said it at first, you were like, oh, no, you thought no problem. Oh, what a realization.
Right. But no one had actually challenged me or held me accountable to it before ever. I mean, I had quit. I'd been trying to quit for 5 years because I remember very clearly at one moment saying, I've been doing this for 15 years. Maybe I should just quit while I'm ahead. I've never been arrested. I've never gotten a DUI. Not that I didn't deserve them because I drove drunk many, many times. I drove loaded all the time. But I thought maybe I should just quit while I'm ahead. And so I would give away my bongs, tell my dealer not to sell to me anymore, whatever. And people would just kind of go, Joyce, we know you have a head shop. You can get another bong if you want.
Yeah. You're just wasting money by throwing it on it, basically, because you're going to go out again.
Right. But I didn't realize that I was going back to it over and over because I was powerless. I thought I changed my mind.
I don't know. Like you're saying this, you're teaching me something. And I think that was the major problem. I didn't think I was an addict.
Yeah.
Like you don't see it.
I just changed my mind.
Wow. Well, that's good for that therapist. She did a good job.
She really did. Yes, I certainly reached out to her and let her know once I did get sober. It turns out that she was sober. She hadn't told me that, but at some point in the process, she admitted that she was actually sober and that what she was having me do was step work. If you've ever been to a recovery meeting, they have 12 steps of recovery. And part of it is you write the history of your drinking or your using, and then you read it aloud to somebody. And she had sneakily done that with me. And so I
That was a good trick, though.
I know it was. It was very
You know, I imagine you in the hot seat, like, what? I don't want to read this
I know.
thing.
I couldn't believe it. And then she said the next week, now write the history of you and your husband. Well, now I knew she was going to have me read it out loud. So I don't know if I self-edited or what, but
Of course you did. Of
maybe.
course you did. Just a bit.
Well, but nothing's edited in the book. It's all there. In fact,
So let me ask you this. What do you think if
story.
good product placement. Let me ask you this. What was the hardest part of making that transition to being sober? You think that to take that step?
Well, without a doubt, the hardest thing was having my kids not move with me. I mean, I don't know if they thought if we tell her we're not going with her, she won't go either. I don't know what they were thinking, but what turned out is it led me to get sober because the seriousness of the situation was now right here in my face. You know, my children don't want to be with me because they're sick of my drinking, using, and bad choices, bad behavior. And so it was traumatic. You know, any person with teenage kids, they were 13 and 16 when I got sober. Teenage daughters don't want to live with their mother.
There's something, I see what you're saying. It's a big, there's something wrong.
Yeah. And it's not that they said, we don't want to have anything to do with you. It's like, we'll talk to you every Sunday. And, you know, you can
be honest. But good for them, right? Good for them that they didn't want to be. They said, if you're not going to change, you're not taking us with you on this.
Exactly. Isn't that courageous?
Did a good job. That means you did a good job.
No, I'm impressed that they were so courageous that they said their truth and then lived it. And and today, I have to say, the notes they wrote me for my 75th birthday last week, it's unrecognizable. It's unrecognizable. My one daughter called me a 75-year-old icon.
Oh, I have kids, so that's
Can you imagine?
Oh my God, that's bigger than Emmys. That's bigger than anything you could think of when your child sees you in that light. It's just
yes, and
for you.
And what I did once I was sober, then I was told to suit up and show up and do whatever God put in front of me. So, I didn't have any clue how to get started with acting and coming from the outside. And I was diagnosed with a medical condition right before I left Indiana. It was Graves' disease. It was hyperthyroid. And it meant I gained all this weight and my eyes were bulged out like frog eyes. So here I was with this distorted body image coming to the place that idolizes physical beauty, right?
In the industry that, got it.
It was horrible. And so I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get started, in acting when I look like this? And my sponsor at the time said, do what you can do. And I had been teaching college when I was back in Indiana after we closed our head shop. And one of our employees opened up a new record store. So we just basically gave all our customers to him and closed the store, got divorced. And I had been teaching college for 5 years and I taught communications, public speaking, business and professional communications, interpersonal communications, all this stuff. And I had a teaching credential because in my bachelor's, I had gone to Purdue University, which I chose based on their male-female ratio. They had 7 men to every woman. So I was like, sign me up. And, I'm deep. I'm telling you, Julio, I'm very deep.
I love it.
And so I had gotten a teaching credential as a backup because I had a major in theater and a major in communications ed. And so I had been teaching at the university level, but I had this secondary teaching credential. And so I started teaching. And so it was so ironic. It was like the universe was saying, oh, your kids are not going to live with you. You're going to work with other people's kids. There's your amends to the universe. And very quickly, I figured out that acting is a profession where there are way more people who want the job than there are jobs for the people. And especially if you're a woman in your 40s, which I was, and I had joined the union, and I had learned at a meeting that only 8% of all teaching jobs went to women in their 40s.
What?
8%, those are not good odds.
In
And
teaching jobs?
yeah, 8. And so I thought, and they're going to hire some other women in their 40s before they hire me. Meryl Streep, Sally Field. There are a few people who they know about who are probably going to get hired before me. So I got a teaching job, and it turned out that quickly I realized if I would substitute in special education, it was the opposite of acting. There were way more jobs than there were people to do them. So they needed me more than I needed them, no matter how much I needed them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Right.
Complete.
So then I had to go get a special ed credential because I didn't know anything about teaching special ed. So I did that. Went and got a special ed credential, and then ended up getting hired to do it. And it turned out I was good at it. It turned out that I loved it. I had a passion for it. On 9/11, I remember having such a feeling of usefulness as I watched those planes fly into the Twin Towers. I thought, I wonder how I would feel if I were a full-time actor today, as opposed to knowing I had a job to go where these kids were full of fear and I could offer them some comfort and some solace. And I just felt useful, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
And so I did that for 23 years. And then I retired from that because one of the things they said when I went to that meeting where they said 8% of jobs go to women in their 40s, they said there were way more jobs for women in their 60s. So I was, see you in 20 years.
Here I come.
Yeah, right. So that's what I did. I taught until I was 62, and then I retired from teaching, and then I've been in the pursuit of acting ever since.
Man, what a lesson. What a lesson in so many ways, right? Because the one that I want to point out is, a lot of people that they take age as a determining factor of what they can do, right? That's like huge, right? And you're showing, you're just getting started because that's when you really got into your acting career. Look, right now your acting career is successful.
Right.
So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that and showing the world that age ain't nothing but a number. We got to understand that. Right?
That's right.
So what did you get out of this teaching? And I asked because I was in special education. What did you get most out of teaching? It looks like it did a lot for you.
Oh, my gosh. Well, for one thing, I got to meet the amazing people that are in those classes. I mean, I'm still in touch with some of them today. Some of them have stayed in close contact on social media, and we share the same politics. I've got this one little gal. She's only about 4 feet tall, 3.5 feet tall. She's got this disability with her height, right? But her mind is fantastic, and she was always very determined and very rambunctious. She was a cheerleader in high school, this little tiny person. She and I share the same politics, and she's forever sending me "atta girls" and, rooting for me. And on the other hand, I got her an audition once when I knew that somebody was looking for little people. Anyway, so I've had some of those lifelong relationships with some of those folks. I've got one student who was it's funny because you look a lot like him. He physically resembles you a lot. And he's a brilliant, animator. So he has drawn comic books, and he came out of foster care. And I remember at one point, I wanted him to realize the value of his work. And so I drove him down to the Writers Guild of America and had him copyright his comic books so that he would protect his work and understand the need to actually realize that the gift that he had. And he's a practical guy too. His day job is he's a phlebotomist. He works at UCLA and he draws blood. That's his day job. But he's got this whole comic book series that he writes about this superhero who came out of foster care. He's writing what he knows, right?
Man, you're showing how like powerful our own stories are, man. And in your book, right, you're using it to show. Do you what would a reader get from that? I think I asked you, but would they get tips, or would they, if they're going through the same situation, what would they get out of it?
Well, I think here's the thing: it's a book that's sold on Amazon, and people have written reviews there. And I think I have like 85 reviews.
Woo!
15 more people. I need just 15 more. Because what I've been told is once you have 100 reviews, then Amazon starts promoting the book. I don't know if that's bogus or if it's true.
So might as well try it. Can't hurt.
Right, exactly. But the reviews make me feel like I'm at my own funeral, because the book is about my life. People from my entire life have reviewed the book. So there's the guy who sat next to me in homeroom, the guy who was my bestie in homeroom, and he wrote a review, and he says how he remembers when I was in a band, and he and his wife used to come out to gigs and watch us perform. There's somebody who I was a cheerleader with in high school, and just all these people talking about how the book has triggered memories of their relationship with me, or total strangers who have read the book and say that they find it inspirational that somebody could make so many crappy choices, destroy their life, and then start over at age 40 and, today feel like a useful person. What's kind of ironic is the book ends with me being in this show that I'm in right now, because I finished writing the book, about a year after this show last run, when it ran in 2023. And now here I am. In fact, because it's a digital book, I can go back and update it, and I probably should now that I'm in the show again. But
that's beautiful. Look at how your story keeps. Now it's like paying. I feel like it's paying you for making the right choices right now. And it's showing you by bringing you to that show. About this. I don't know. I'm really. It's inspiring that you came out of that. They're right. That you came out of that and you were able to now go chase your dream. That's the beauty of it.
And it's the beauty of you too. I mean, here you are doing this podcast, and you just shared that you came out of special education. What level were you in? What was your disability?
Well, at the time they put me in the class because I was a teacher thought it has to be special education, but they never tested me, right?
What?
So they put me in this class. Yeah, I swear it was a weird. So they put me in this class, and I didn't know it was special education. Wow. I just know that when we sat in the class, it was different. There was only a few kids, right? And then we sat down, and they started the lesson, and they started. They were on like letter C, and I'm like, what? And for the age, I'm like, what? I already know my ABC, so I didn't know what was going on. Wow. And this went on for a week, and then the teacher pulled me out, took me to the principal, and said, "This kid does not belong in this class."
Wow.
So, but it turns out that I did. So I just a year ago, I decided to go get tested because I'm very different from the people around me, and I'm not saying it's in a good way, like in the way I act, the way I think, and I got tested for everything. And yeah, it turns out I have ADHD. I meet most of the criteria for autism for sure.
Wow.
But since it was diagnosed as an adult, they can't say it's autism because I can dress myself now. But I have strategies for that too. It's a very complicated situation for me. But
Good for you.
you're right. I did belong in that class, but it was a great realization because I like that I learned it as an adult, because I keep thinking, what if I knew as a child, how much would have stopped me from what I do? So now it empowers me that, it's possible. So yeah. And I love that you were a teacher there. Let me ask you something. It looks like you see everything artistic, right? Like you like art, you're singing, you're acting, you're writing.
Yeah.
Did you bring some of that to your teaching career as well? Did you see some of the skills that help there?
Most definitely. Yeah. I mean, I was doing a song and dance in front of the class every day, just
Man.
because, it's just who I am. So to the best of my ability, yeah, I was. And here's the other thing. When you're a teacher and they want to evaluate you and they want to come into your classroom and they want to watch you teach, and the typical routine is they schedule it. They tell you what day, what period to expect them, right? And I would say to them, I don't need to schedule anything. I'm not going to change anything when you come from what I do on the Natch. So you come whenever you want. And one day a group of people came parading into my classroom, and they were people from the district and people, from my special ed department of the high school. And they all came in and they stood in the back of the classroom and they just watched what we were doing. Well, we were reading Shakespeare. It was abridged. It was abridged Romeo and Juliet, but we were doing Shakespeare, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, she was."
What are you doing?
And I was like, "Why wouldn't I? Why would I presume that these students shouldn't be given a frame of reference for something that every other ninth grader is getting? Why should they be deprived of that enlightenment, this beauty, this, and again, it was the simpler version, but it was, it was
That's
fantastic.
golden.
They were all like, wow. I was like, what did you think I'd be doing?
That's the thing with the school system, right? They put you in the box, and that's what they
Well,
want for you. Thank you for doing that, giving them that experience. It is
Oh.
amazing.
Yeah.
So now, did you always know you were into the arts, or was it? Or
Oh
is
yeah, I
messed up?
literally, when I was in first grade, I was living in Detroit, Michigan, and they announced that they were having a talent show, and no first graders allowed. And I thought, why would that be okay? And I just raised a ruckus and got these other kids to come with me to the principal and advocate, and they let us go ahead and perform. And my mother was horrified because I picked a song with my neighbor, and she and I sang a song called "Tonight You Belong to Me," which
Of course you did.
it's basically about, the lyrics are, I know you belong to somebody else, but tonight you belong to me. And here we are in our little squeaky voices,
So you're a fighter.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of hearing with all the stories. You like making changes, right? Is that something
yes.
about?
Yeah, for sure. And, in all of my affairs, basically, this past week, I started a group who are writing postcards around the country to try and elect people who share my political views. And I do this every election cycle.
Good for
And
you.
this is an off year, and it's not a presidential election. Unfortunately, we could use another one right now. But I've been really politically active my entire life. The very first election I was old enough to vote was Richard Nixon running for president against George McGovern. And I know this is way before your time, but Nixon won 49 states. George McGovern won one state. It was not close, right? And yet, here I was in Indiana, which is the state where Nixon got the largest plurality. And I'm going door to door for George McGovern. So I have been a political activist my entire life. I volunteer every week at a homeless drop-in center, giving away clothing to people who are living on the streets. I was walking yesterday, I was walking from the bank to my place, and there was this beautiful suitcase on wheels, bright green, sitting on the sidewalk with a bunch of stuff. It looked like somebody was moving, and they were put a bunch of stuff for free on the sidewalk. And I said, oh, I'm going to take this for the drop-in center. You know, a homeless person will love this.
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry, but thank God you were talking about Nixon.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. But I don't look at it that way. I spent the last couple of weeks going to the Huntington Gardens and walking around and, you know, having high tea with my college friend who flew out from Indiana for my show, or going to a museum and looking at beautiful art. You know, it's free. Doesn't cost anything to go to that museum. And so I like to take time to appreciate the beauty around me. And then today I will spend my time on a stage trying to create beauty for others to enjoy. And if that brief distraction is beneficial to someone, if reading my little book is a brief distraction, if, you know, listening to the audiobook and listening to the fun music that my band and I wrote is a brief distraction, I'm good with that.
I love that. That was a true artist answer. I love it. So you are trying to make an impact with your art in more ways than I love it. I love it. Let me ask you one more question for anyone who is inspiring to be an actor and to be like you, and they're just getting started. What do you have any tips for them or anything they need to know?
Well, I'll just share with them what Jeff Corey said to me. Be humble enough to realize that you need to remain teachable. And,
big
you know,
one.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bachelor's in theater and a master's in radio and television, and I am forever looking for the next class, the next teacher. And I've had the biggest auditions of my life in the last year. I didn't book them. But the way I look at it is recovery and staying clean and sober is the most important thing I do every day, because if I don't do that, I can't do anything. So I go to a ton of meetings. I go to a meeting almost every day.
Good for you.
Even at almost 35 years sober. Maybe some people don't need to do that to stay sober. I do. And so that means I'm busy working with other women and having a sponsor who works with me. And so when I go to an audition, I literally say to myself, I finish it, and then I say, okay, that is the thing I did between meetings.
Nice.
Next. I try not to give it too much importance. There are things that I've auditioned for that would have changed my life. I didn't book them. Oh, well, it's the thing I did between meetings. And it's all okay. My life is phenomenal. Now, even though what I'm hearing in the background is a really loud bunch of machinery, because there was a leak under my sink the other day. And my floors got wet, and I've got machines drying out the floors, and It could be a nightmare. They may have to take up all the vinyl planks. They may have to remove all the kitchen cabinets. It sounds like it could be a nightmare. Oh, well,
I
that's
love it. I
going
love
between
it.
meetings.
I love the way you look at life. I love your journey. I love your story. So where can people get your book? Where can they get tickets? Where can they see what you do?
I love that. Thank you.
Of course.
So the tickets for the show are at Bill W. and Dr. Bob onstage.com. And a lot of the shows are sold out, but there are a few tickets left in March. The show runs Saturdays and Sundays at 2:30 p.m. the first 4 weeks of March. The last week we're closed because another group has the
Got it.
theater. But then in April, we'll be back to Saturday matinees and Saturday nights, and then Sunday matinees. So Bill W. and Dr. Bob onstage.com for the tickets. The book is everywhere. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Books. And if you have a library card, you can check the book out for free, the audiobook, on an app called Libby. It's free.
Nice.
So I hope people will listen to it. I hope they'll leave a review. I only need 15 more.
I hope so too. Listen, Joy, like I am inspired by you. Thank you for being a bright light in darkness, because what you're doing is amazing. Thank you for helping in special education. You have no idea the experience you gave them that they carry on by making them feel like they can learn what everyone else is learning and be part of normal society. So I love what you're doing. I love the work that you're acting. I'm telling you, I was watching your stuff. I love it. I love it. Everybody support her book. Like you said, even leave a review. That's huge for an author, please. And yeah, look out for her future shows and what's coming up, because I know it's going to be huge. Well, thank you for joining me, Joyce. I had a great time with you.
I wish you all the best.
Thanks. You.
Bye.
Repeat after me. I am powerful. I am